I was going to show you guys the clicky-clacky, screamy noises the engine's making, but the battery's dead from sitting with the hazards on waiting for a tow truck. So I'm going to push it around to where it needs to go. Wait, screw pushing. This is what jumper packs are made for. So yeah, that is the familiar sound of a comprehensively blown up Subaru engine. So we'll be yanking this one out and swapping it with another junkyard one. Same old, same old. So no time lapse this time. It's been about 3 hours and you'll notice there's so much more room for activities. Everything that can be undone from up top is undone, including all the bell housing bolts. Compressor stays in the car, power steering stays in the car. Because of a previous owner, the washer bottle stays in the car. And yeah, in those 3 hours, I look a lot sweatier and dirtier than I did before. All right, I wiped out my oil pan just for this particular bit of science, because the little bit of oil that was on the dipstick looked about as metallic as nail polish. So let's see just how bad this is. So I can't see the screen, so I have no idea whether this is going to show up, but can you see that glitter? You might recall how I had the oil pan freshly wiped out. Can you see that? It's like big pieces of glitter. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Yeah, there. You know what didn't work? That trick with the clutch. You know what did work? The hammer. Pry bar. Now there's a gap between those two. Sweet, off we go. Engine's on its way out. Just a bunch of dangerous hoisting and then hopefully not dropping anything on anything. Engine's out on a couple tires, because that's what you keep old tires around for. There are certain steps that are mandatory during an engine swap. And one of them is the selfie of the engine bay. We're at Pick and Pull now looking for engines, and it's not looking good. I feel like there's a story here about Subaru ownership. Because of the 5 Subarus here at Pick and Pull, 3 are already missing their engine. 1 is the 6-cylinder, which would be a fun swap, but more work than I want to do today. And the last one has the timing area crushed, and that's why nobody else took it. This one looked okay, it looked perfect actually. Same year, as plug and play as it's gonna get. But it's been on the yard for a month and nobody else pulled the engine from it. There's even signs that like people started and then stopped, so I investigated some more. And I think that what's left in the bottom of the sump is real glittery. So I think this is exactly the same as mine. So I think I'm gonna roll the dice on this 2003 Outback with an EJ251. That's the same engine code as my wagon. It has some slight intake manifold differences, but it will either plug in or I'll swap over the intake manifold on top. Okay, it's been a fun couple hours. Everything is disconnected. Engine and transmission are separated. So it is time to get a big, scary engine hoist and yank this out. Okay, I don't know how junkyards work in other parts of the world, but here in Edmonton, they all seem to have this same chain fall on some spare tires. Whew, little out of breath. Junkyarding is easier with friends, but they're all having kids, moving in a different city. You know, the usual. You always start the wrong way, huh? Now to get this thing into the wheelbarrow without, dying. We're now on what I'd call day 3 of this project. Just run into something that might put a little pause button on this. I was getting ready to move the clutch from the engine that just came out to the engine that's going in. And I found about the worst rear main seal leak I've ever seen. And it's never going to be easier to get to than this. So I'm probably going to hit the pause button for as long as it takes for some parts to get here. Just checking out the oil that came out of the new engine. There is no glitter in this at all. So I was just in the garage because I'm a big fan of not letting projects out of your sight, going outside and doing nothing on them, putting away tools, and then the next thing you discover you've done a couple hours work. So I was pulling the intake manifold off the motor that came out along with the water pipe to put it on the motor that's going in. And I found something interesting. Under the water pipe, there was a little label for high-tech engines, Spokane, Washington, assembled with pride, and a serial number, which might explain some of the good things about this motor. We hit pause for a day or two while we waited for Rock Auto's cheapest shipping, but I have 2 rear main seals. That way no bad luck happens while I'm trying to install the one. Valve cover gaskets, flywheel and clutch, and some shiny gaskets for the water neck and intake manifold. So let's see how far I get getting that motor prepped to slap in. Okay, new rear main seal, all cleaned up so I can tell if it leaks or if that leak came from somewhere else. Time to throw the new clutch on and torque it on. New flywheels on, new pilot bearing that doesn't feel all crunchy. Things have been torqued and retorqued. Okay, new clutch. All torqued and checked. Time to do some valve cover gaskets. I used up pretty much all the parts I ordered. There is an entire clutch on there. Intake manifold is on new gaskets. Water pipe is on new gaskets. Valve covers are freshly sealed. This motor is all ready to get shoved in there, meet up with the rest of the new parts, like that throwout bearing. So that's probably the next thing we'll see. So the old motor is gone, tucked away into storage, and the new motor is just about ready. But somebody had asked a good question about, is there any difference between automatic and manual Subaru motors? And the answer is yes, there's one specific thing. This video is not a how-to. This entire video is more of a what happened. But once upon a time, when Subaru was shipping their cars across the ocean, the manual transmission cars were all having their timing jump because they were in gear, but they were rocking back and forth on the boat. So the only thing that they have on the manual transmission engines that is not on the automatics is this little guide right on the crank pulley gear. Gates timing belt kits include a handy dandy little spacer. So this automatic engine that I pulled from the junkyard out of an Outback just happily fits this belt guide that I pulled off of the dead motor. Click. Did everybody steal Abe's jokes? Just me. Click. Pull that out. There we go. Nicely spaced off the belt, but close enough that the belt can't jump off in order to skip teeth. This motor is now converted from a automatic transmission motor to a manual transmission motor. Next time you see it, it'll be dangling off of this thing, going onto that thing. The engine's in, hooked up to the transmission, starter motor, wiring, oil. That is it. No exhaust, no accessories, no battery, because I just have a jumper pack. And we'll see if it sounds like somebody banging on the inside of the engine with a hammer. And then if that's good, we'll hook up the fuel pump relay and see if it starts. Okay, great. I've probably missed at least one ground. Let's check for that. Ground's found and hooked up. Batteries in along with the jumper pack. A car with no exhaust on it at all is loud as fuck. But good news, that engine does not sound like there's anybody hammering away on the inside of it. It looks like a car, doesn't it? So last time we saw it, it just had oil and gas. Now it has coolant. Has all the accessories hooked up. Time to start it again with a full exhaust attached. Make sure there's no new noises that I didn't hear before. So yeah, this sounds like a car, normal car. I'm gonna let it idle for a bit to bleed the coolant. And then I'm gonna go for a test drive, and then I feel like I have a lot of things left over. But to be fair, I also had 2 engines worth of stuff, so there should be a lot of stuff left over. So that was the triumphant shot of it driving out of the garage. And now we're gonna drive around the block real careful like and make sure that it feels like a car. Oh man, I still have the heat on. This is also a brand new clutch, brand new pressure plate, so I probably shouldn't do any hard launches or whatever. Clutch feels great though. Driving off into the sunset. It sounds a little fruitier than it did before. I think I gave myself an exhaust leak with the way that I unhooked some things. But otherwise, it sounds like a happy car. And this might seem like it was a 5 days of wrenching project. But in reality, this was like a 10-year project, right? This was wrenching on cars with all my friends, Subaru Club and otherwise. Motor seems good. Clutch seems good. Right? Like, putting the engine and transmission together, I was thinking of Jer. Dealing with a blown up engine, I was thinking of John. A different John lent me the engine hoist. Matt, I've done so much wrenching with. Cam, I really would have liked your help on this. Fuck, where'd that come from? But anyways, this was Garage of Idiots, blowing up a daily driver, 5 days wrenching, back together, junkyard motor. I have 47 days of warranty on this motor, so I'm probably going to attempt to drive it like a rental car. But yeah, this project is done. And I know you're the only one that would have watched the video to the end. So hi, Mom.